All right, welcome back to Profit Pro Plus for another installation of training. Today we're going to dive into a unique topic. We're going to look at your maintenance and how to manage the program throughout the maintenance icons and what each one of the icons mean and what to do with them. So let's dive into the program. So as always, we are going to end up on our default landing page, which is inventory. But from within any of the pages, you will notice a little screwdriver and wrench icon, along with the help box that pops up when you hover over it that says maintenance. Let's look at maintenance and talk about what is in this page and how we use it. Through previous trainings, you've probably seen us go into multiple different icons throughout the different column settings in the maintenance page. And as a quick review, we have the settings column, the manage column, and the loaders column. So let's start piece by piece and just take a look at each one of them real quick in this brief tutorial training. Change password is relatively straightforward, but let's take a look at it anyway. The email password that you're going to use for this is the personal email account you used when purchasing the program. It should be the same as what your current login is, and your password is just going to be any new configuration of a new password that you want, as well as confirming that password. Hit reset when you're finished, and that's it, you're all done. Next, the Manage Profile. This is your personal profile page where you can put as much information in here as you would like. Now, we don't require any of the information to be in there other than the restaurant name, and you certainly don't want to change the restaurant name because if you do, you run the risk of losing some or all of your data, which no data is ever lost in Profit Pro Plus. It just has to be backed up, which means you're going to have to place a service call and get a hold of us so that we can do that. So let's go and look at some other functions within the maintenance page. Change locations. This is simply an opportunity to change which account you are on. If you've got multiple restaurants, you can scroll through the entire list and dive through as many different locations as you have in one part of the program. Going back to maintenance, we have a newer feature that we've added, and this is our inventory locations. In order to make your inventory setup easier, as we covered in the inventory training video, you have the opportunity to create your location areas by which you take inventory. So for example, we take inventory in our restaurant in the walk-in cooler, in the walk-in freezer. We have line number 1, which is our actual functioning sales line. We have line number 2, which is our prep line that also has make stations. We've got 2 different dry storage areas, so dry storage 1, dry storage 2. We have the bar, we have the server station 1, server station 2, where we keep backup supplies, as well as our outdoor storage. So you can name as many of these columns and categories as you want in locations, and this just helps to break down your inventory in 2 locations so that it's easier to take inventory. But again, all that's a functional training element and dynamic that we cover extensively in the inventory stock take training portion of our video series here. So moving on, let's go back to our maintenance screen. Under Manage, we have the opportunity to edit our recipe categories. When you originally load your PMix from your POS system at your restaurant, if you've done so by category, all of your categories will automatically populate. But in a training video we did on the R&D recipes, we added different categories to our R&D recipe. This is an opportunity for you just to do that in bulk, very similar to the editing page that you could go to through recipes, but it also exists here, and you can go to multiple pages to look at all the different categories that you have, and of course you can continue to add as many categories as you like and assign them what recipe type functionality they're going to be placed in. Going back, our loader definitions. We've covered these in quite a bit of detail as well, but there are different loader definitions that you can set according to how you're going to load different data if you choose to do so manually instead of by using the auto loader. In the manual loader, you can set definitions for your inventory. You can set definitions for your invoices if you are going to manually load invoices into the system, and you can also set definitions for your PMix, and we cover that in great detail in our PMix training video. Within the functionality, you also have the opportunity to create new loader definitions. You can save any loader definitions that you've created, or you can go systematically through and delete any loader definitions, only because they take up space, but not a necessary functionality that you have to manage or monitor very often. Jumping back down, we have our PMix definitions, and this is a little bit different than the traditional PMIX row definitions. This is how do we delimitate the value in our PMIX. So because we ask the PMIX to be loaded in a comma-separated value, you can see that on this page, we have it delimited by commas, and we select from row 1 to begin. If your data comes in a different format altogether and it's something that does not seem to format properly, this is an opportunity where you could go in and select one of your PMIX files, import it, redefine it when it gives you multiple rows, and then save your definition. Next, we have our manage vendors. Now, this is a critical category, and we did cover quite a bit of this in the original setup for Profit Pro Plus in the initial training videos, but you have the opportunity to continue to add new sources. We strongly recommend that every time you input new data from a new vendor, that you also input that new vendor. Even if that vendor is the grocery store or Amazon or the farmer's market, they're still great to put in here as a form of source so that you know, or anybody else knows that's using the program, where to track down that source if you ever had to research pricing or try to find a one-off product that you had purchased before so that you can purchase it again or at least research a similar product. And last in our columns, we have our loaders. And this is simply after we've defined the way that we want our product to upload in our manual loaders function, we can now choose the loaders, which gives us the ability to select the file from our computer, pick whichever file type we like, load it up, and then preview the data by hitting import, and then process the data in order to get it into the system. In this particular one that we're looking at, you can see for our PMIX loader, we can load our sales only, which would be an ongoing function, monthly or period or every week, depending on how you want to count and do your reporting. But you can also, on the initial load or on any type of new menu loadout, if you've built that into your POS system, you could load the categories as well as the recipe names, which is what load recipes means. Each time you're going to update the same data over a different time frame, you just want to aggregate the data. But if you're ever going to make a menu change, a complete menu change, or when you upload your initial PMIX for the very first time, overwrite is the proper function. You want to wipe out everything else that you had and replace it with the new data that you're uploading. Next, we've got our invoice loader. The functionality works pretty much the same, not as many options. The only thing that we have to do with our invoice loader is make sure that we put the working date of that invoice in. Then we're going to select our source from our list. We will select our file that we have saved in a CSV file type. We'll import it to review it and process it to fully upload the data. And last, we have our inventory loader. And like all loaders, it works very much the same way. Inventory typically is reset weekly. This is your vendor pricing or your vendor order guides. Again, through the autoloader, this is done automatically, but if you are trying to consolidate into one master order guide from multiple vendors and you want to load it that way, you can create a source list named master and you can load the week of date that you're working with. We recommend that you load the date that pricing is good until. Select it from your list in your files from your computer, import it to review it, and process it to import or update that data. This data never has to be worried about whether or not it's going to be aggregated or overwritten. It automatically overwrites any items that it recognizes that it's had before, or replaces or builds any new items that are not recognized, new or unfamiliar. So that pretty much covers it for your maintenance portion of this training. Stay tuned for our next training, or if this is your last training in this series, go dive into your program and start making profit like a pro.